and we are ready for the second half. What we are making for the second half. Oh, and Dusty just stood up. He thinks it's time to go. It is not time to go, buddy. You can sit down. So what we're making for the second half could get a little messy. So even though I have on a black shirt, I'm going to go ahead and put my apron on. These are also available on our spread shirt, you know, in case you wanted an apron. And Rosie is the one that convinced me to get this. So thank you again, Rosie. Okay, so who had Easter today? Raise your hand if it was Easter at your house today. So as parts of the country are starting to open back up again, people are starting to be able, you know, to visit and do things again. So we had Easter yesterday, and yes, Trish, it is water time. So we had Easter, and I'm a little bit crooked here. Let me see if I can, hold on. Oop, wrong side. Okay, so we had Easter yesterday. So Sherry's having Easter today. But we had Easter yesterday, and Alyssa is 3. Whew. So everything is sort of new. Or maybe she's just aware now. So in the second half of tonight's chat, so the first half of tonight's chat, we were talking about temptation bundling. But in the second half of tonight's chat, we are going to be talking about what to do with all of these leftover eggs. So I don't know if you follow me on Instagram or not. It is just If You Have an Egg. But on Instagram, and I may have posted it in the Facebook group too, I posted a picture of the eggs that I actually let Alyssa hide. So I wish I could say that I had come up with some creative way. It looks like a lot of y'all had Easter today. I wish I could say that I came up with a creative way to make a crackle-looked egg, but they were really that cracked. So she had the best time. Her hands, and I'll just have to ask Casey, I don't know, her hands, like her fingernails were covered in the color because she was using the little metal thing, but then she kept sticking her hands in there, you know, and taking it out. And this one arm was blue all the way down. It was blue all the way down. So hopefully that got a little cleaned up because, you know, Nona just let her go. But she was hiding the eggs, and well, first we hid them, and then we made her mom look for it. Well, her mom hid them, and then we had Alyssa go find them. Then we had Alyssa hide them and made her mom go look for them. Well, then Alyssa was just like, it's my turn, it's my turn, it's my turn. And then it was her turn the rest of the night. So she kept going and hiding them, and then finding them again where she had just hid them. So those eggs were destroyed. So these are the eggs that I salvaged. These are the ones that did not get destroyed. So people have been naming things like egg salad. That's exactly right. Loretta says egg salad. Let's see. Loretta says egg salad or tuna salad. Debbie says deviled eggs, egg salad. So yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too, but we're going to do something a little different. And Lynn had her second COVID vaccine yesterday, so she hasn't felt well today. Oh, Lynn, I know, I heard it's a bugger, so I'm kind of dreading that. I'm kind of dreading that one. And I'm trying to figure out what would even be a good day to get it, because there's not a good day for me to be down and out. But anyway, okay, so things like, you know, even if you just wanted to do something like this, like, you know, you can get these at Aldi, and this is just a fat-free tuna salad with wheat crackers and a spoon included. These are 5, let's see, they're 5 smart points on green, but you could even chop up one of the eggs and put it in here. But we're not going to do something so boring as that. No. So yeah, deviled eggs, too easy. Egg salad, too simple, too obvious, you know. So we're going to do something a little more crazy or creative. Okay, so those are all the obvious choices, you know. Just use them to make, you know, deviled eggs, egg salad, you know, or just in your salad, like Marianne just said, just put them in your salad. Okay, but with my new fascination for gardening, fermenting, pickling, canning, so, you know, with gardening, and yeah, Carol is exactly right, Scottish eggs. So, you know, with gardening, you can't consume everything that you had, you know, everything that you've grown in your garden. You can't consume it fast enough unless you have a huge family. You can't consume it fast enough to, you know, to consume it before it goes bad. So before we've even gotten our garden planted, so I've been planning it, I've been drawing it, I've got all my little tabs done in my seed book. I've attended a gardenary university, and yes, that is a gardenary. So if you want a garden and don't know what to do, I highly recommend gardenary. It's just like ordinary gardenary. she blew my mind. I mean, she absolutely blew my mind. Okay, well, we're not going to sidetrack onto that. Okay, so and yes, Debbie's right. That's one of the things that we're going to make tonight. So with my new fascination for all these things, we're going to practice on 2 of the things that I will be doing with garden vegetables. Okay, I will warn you, with the with the eggs, they're not going to last as long as vegetables will in the same scenario, but we're going to practice on this. So again, with my new gardening fascination also has come a fascination for fermenting, pickling, and canning. So I'm not ready for canning yet. Not quite there yet. But we're going to practice on 2 of these tonight. So what's the difference between pickling and fermenting? Because that's been driving me crazy. And I'm still reading my gardening books that Alyssa and I got from the library. I have not moved on to my pickling and fermenting books yet. So I just needed a quick example, what is the difference? So the difference is, according to nutritionyoucanuse.com, so that's a website called nutritionyoucanuse.com. According to them, there are 2 basic differences in pickled versus fermented foods. So these are the basic differences. It's 2 things. It's actually one main thing. The main difference between pickled and fermented foods is how they're made. Okay. So what does that mean? Then they go on to say, with pickling, I'm sorry, Betty Ann says, my parents have a garden every year. After they get what they want, neighbors and church people get what is left. Okay, well, I'm going to be stingy and try to pickle, ferment, or can some of mine. Then people can have it, okay, after I've done that. Okay, so with pickling, you're immersing the ingredients in something acidic. So, it's going to be like vinegar, beet vinegar, something like that. So, with pickling, you're immersing the ingredients in something acidic like vinegar, and the process alters the texture and the taste of the food, and it creates kind of that, pickled sour flavor. Okay, fermenting does not involve any extra acid, but instead the sour taste comes from the reaction between the compounds in the food and bacteria that are naturally present. Okay, so there is bacteria for fermenting is different than just leaving your eggs out, letting mold and stuff, grow on them, and then eating them. So that's not what we're talking about. This is an actual process, and you kind of need to pay attention to what you're doing so that you don't end up with, icky food. Okay, so I love the next example that they used in their comparison. So Casey took a class in high school that has fascinated me since then, and it was a logics class, and it was called, and so in this logics class they were working on a thing called syllogism, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, but syllogism has fascinated me since that day, and I've used it way too much in normal conversation. I'm confident her teacher did not mean it to be carried this far, but so when they were doing syllogism in high school, I came to the realization, I don't know, just what syllogism is, you just use logical thinking, to take 2 facts and see which one, both of them are facts, but which one is more correct. So the example that one of the examples I like to use is poodles are dogs. So all poodles, every single poodle that there is a dog. Everybody can agree with me on that, right? But not all dogs are poodles. So think about that. It's a fact that all poodles are dogs, but not all dogs are poodles. So that is an example of syllogism. So the next example that they had on Nutrition You Can Use kind of had that same feeling for me. So what they said is fermenting is a type of pickling, but not all pickling is fermenting. So fermenting is the general category. That's the broad category, and pickling is a type of fermenting. But what I'm getting ready to do, the fermenting I'm getting ready to do, that is not necessarily pickling. So mind blown. It was just, I don't know, it was that same kind of realization for me. So pickling is a general term used when foods are preserved using acid to cause a reaction in the food. So we talked about that just a second ago. Oh no, Tag missed the opening thing. It's okay, you can catch up. So pickling is just a broad term. It's just a broad term that's used when foods are preserved using acid to cause a reaction in the food. But fermenting is also a form of pickling, but instead of using the acid, the food is preserved due to a different kind of a chemical reaction that involves the food and bacteria, but it's the good kind of bacteria. So like yogurt has bacteria in it, but it's good, and it's good for your gut bacteria. This is that same kind. It's not exactly the same as yogurt bacteria, but it is good bacteria like that, that is also good for your gut. So sauerkraut is fermented. It's not pickled. It's fermented. The fact that it's fermented and it doesn't have an acid that is changing it, so it's bacteria and sauerkraut that are creating that fermentation, process, that fermentation type of pickling, then it doesn't lose all of its nutrients. Okay, so instead of something else being added to it, it's just the food and the bacteria making it. Okay, does that make sense, or is everybody confused now? So let me know if you're with me or if you're 100% confused. Because remember, I'm still going to keep reading up on this because it's like, I don't know, it's fascinating to me. I don't know, maybe I should have been some kind of a weird scientist or something, but like a food scientist or something maybe. Okay, so again, a quick recap. And I'm not going to keep rehashing this because I'm actually hoping to finish at about 10 till tonight so that I can head on home since it is Easter. Not that John and I have any big plans, for when I get home, but it'd be nice to go to bed on time. Okay, so again, pickling involves acid. Fermenting does not. Pickling is delicious. I love pickling. I've never pickled anything myself. I'm going to try this year, because I'm going to have hopefully lots and lots and lots of vegetables to pickle. But I'm also going to try fermenting, because the fermenting process, since it does not use acid, the acid it doesn't create that same good for your gut, bacteria. And does that sound like a familiar theme? Because I've been talking about good for your gut bacteria now for a couple of months. So anyway, okay, so we're going to quickly run through this because I would like to go home at a decent time tonight. So for those of you who are not 100% completely lost, let's keep talking. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, because I did not have hours and hours and hours today, pickling is good. Pickling is good for your joints, Loretta? Pickling or fermenting? Just asking. Because I don't know. You're going to have to tell me. So because I did not have time to make all of this, oh, wait a minute. Myrna says many years ago she made sauerkraut and it was quite an interesting experience. Yeah, so that's what I'm making after this one, is actual jet. I think that's what I'm going to make next. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. So since I did not have time to start from scratch with the pickling, okay, well, good. I'm gonna be doing something good for my gut. The pickling of the eggs is gonna take. So once they're pickled, you're gonna have to put them in the refrigerator. Fermenting is gonna be done in a cool place. So the fermentation process, and I'm standing in the wrong direction, but my fermentation process is gonna take place in this cabinet, in a shu ami fermentation container. You don't refrigerate it for fermentation. The pickling process will be going into the refrigerator. So the pickling, it's going to have to go in the refrigerator for at least 2 to 3 days, so that it can, so that the eggs can absorb this taste. And remember, these are eggs. This is not vegetables. So this is going to be a shorter time, and we're going to have to eat them faster. But I've been assured that they are going to be eaten so fast because they're going to be so delicious that eating them quickly is not going to be a problem. And Lynn, you're probably going to have to help me with the pickling part when it is time for me to actually do that, because I'm going to need some mentors since my mom's not here. Okay, so for the pickling part, I'm cheating, and I'm going to use pickled juice. There is nothing wrong with using pickled juice. There's nothing wrong with using vinegar. There's nothing, beet juice, like pickled beets. There's nothing wrong with using juice from a vegetable that is already pickled. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. So I didn't have a lot of time to make, I didn't have hours and hours and hours today to make, my own pickling stuff. Plus, I had this lovely, I already had this pickle juice from my very favorite pickles. These are Tony Packo's Sweet Hot pickles, and they are my very favorite. And we had just finished these, and it was about time to throw this away. And I thought, oh, no, not throwing that away. I'm going to use it to pickle my eggs. So we're going to use that here in just a second. We're just going to peel a couple more eggs. And if you just remember, if you're not a successful, oh, and I forgot to get something to put my eggshells in. If you are not a successful egg peeler, or like hold on, forgot to get something to put that in. Anyway, I'll just put it on this. If you are not a successful hard-boiled egg cooker, we do already have, a video for how to make hard-boiled eggs in the air fryer. Okay, and Lynn says she doesn't like pickled eggs at all. So I'm hoping that these are going to taste like my my beloved Tony Packo's pickles, because I'm going to put them in that pickle juice. Okay, so the eggs that are done in the air fryer, I do them in my Simple Living air fryer. It's better if they're not fresh eggs. So if they've got, just a little bit of age on them, I mean, they don't have to be like gross old, but if they can have, just not super fresh from the store eggs. And I've done white eggs, brown eggs, cage-free, not cage-free, cheap, whatever. I've done, all the eggs. The air fryer is the only way I have successfully, boiled them and gotten them to peel nicely. And look how nice these peel. Look how pretty these turn out. So it's 260 degrees. I only put 4 eggs in there at a time, and it's 260 degrees in the Simple Living products. When we figured out yesterday that Casey's needs to be a little bit lower in heat with the same amount of time. So in my Simple Living products air fryer, it's 260 degrees for 16 minutes, and then you dump them in an ice bath. I mean, look how it's just coming right off. And then you dump them in an ice bath for 5 minutes, and they're perfect every single time. And I think I can probably fit one more in there. So they're absolutely perfect every single time. How do you store the hard-boiled eggs? Do you leave in the refrigerator with the shells? Okay, so if you're not going to be doing anything else with them, then yes, leave them in their shells. Go ahead and leave them in their shells, and you can leave them in there for, I try not to leave them in there for more than like a week or so, but if I've hard-boiled them, I'm usually going to eat them pretty quick. And again, I'm only doing 4 at a time in my Simple Living Products air fryer. Okay, so there is the last one. We're going to put that in there. And then for the pickled eggs, we're just going to use the already made pickle brine from my Tony Packo's pickles. And we're going to pour that in there. Oops, there's 1 pickle in there. It had 1 pickle. It's still got a little bit of the onion. It's got some of the garlic. And I want that other piece of garlic. That 1 piece of garlic, I want that in there too. Okay, so we're going to get that put in there. And you want to make sure that all of the pickles, have, all of the eggs, you want to make sure that all of the eggs are covered in brine. So that was literally just enough. If you had a bigger jar, you could have put more eggs in there, but that is, again, what was it, 5 eggs maybe? In this size mason jar. It's easier if you do a wide mouth jar so that you can get the eggs in there easier. And then you're just going to make sure that all of the eggs are covered with your pickle juice. So again, you can use pickle juice. You can use anything that's already been pickled. So like beet juice. If you had, like, my dad used to buy pickled cucumbers and pickled carrots and things like that. So you could use the brine from that. This is going to sit in the refrigerator for 2 to 3 days until they taste like I want them to. But then they need to be eaten within a couple of weeks. So probably eaten within 3 weeks, even with the pickling process, just because they're eggs, because you don't want them to get gross. And I've heard that even though they're pickled, that the eggs, if you leave them too long, that you'll know. I've heard that you will absolutely know if they've been in there for too long. Okay, so that's the pickling. Obviously, I will let you all know as the week progresses, how those go. So And yeah, Barbara, since Barbara already loves pickled beets, and that's the perfect thing to pickle these with. Okay, so I asked a couple of you all, or asked some of you all earlier, if you knew what I was doing with my little flower arrangement that I collected today. And if you didn't see what Dusty and I found when we went outside and went on our little flower adventure here at Casey Kitchen Center, we found, I don't even know what kind of a bush it is, but we found a bush literally covered with bumblebees. Bumblebees that were that big, bumblebees that were big and fat, like the moms and dads, I guess. And I was thrilled because it's been so long since I've seen bumblebees. So like last year we had more because we had cosmos. We had planted cosmos here at Casey Kitchen Center, and so we had more last year. But anyway, I was thrilled. So this is just some rosemary that is growing. Somebody had planted it, and the bush is huge now here at Casey Kitchen Center. And then these are little wild violas. So I'm going to put those into, I'm going to put the rosemary, and the rosemary is for flavor. The violas are to be pretty, into my pickling jar. I'm sorry, into my fermentation jar. So again, this is a Choux Ami fermentation kit, and it comes with a Le Parfait jar. And then these are the extra accessories for the kit. So you get, this is the top for it. This is the ring, because it's just like a canning ring, because this is like a canning jar, but it's a Le Parfait, and it's made for this so that they'll specifically fit on there. And then we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. This is the little doohickey we're going to put on the top that's going to form the moat, and then the spring is going to keep the eggs down where they need to be. So we're going to go ahead and put a couple of the eggs in here, and as usual, I'm not going to make my time cut off, so oh well, I'll just be home when I get home. So we're going to peel a few eggs. So you can do rosemary, you can do any kind of herbs, you could do garlic if I had some more fresh garlic. You could do anything like that, anything that you want to put in for the flavoring into the fermenting. And actually, since these are fermenting, I may put just a little bit of my Dax Spices peppercorns in there. Okay. Ooh, Tag's made homemade wine before, so you have fermented something. That's exactly the same thing. Good job. That's what Alyssa says. Good job, Tag. And then you have to go, thank you, because that's how you answer her when she tells you you've done a good job. And she's all about the telling you. Wait, Barbara says, I've never heard of what you do now. What do you mean you've never heard of that? And Trish wants to know if John had a nice birthday. So yes, this actually where I took him for his birthday, or he took us, whatever, for his birthday, what we got to eat has fascinated me in another way. We got pizza, because that's John's favorite food group is pizza. So we got pizza, and it had buffalo mozzarella, and I forget what else it had on it, but it had fresh jalapenos. They were not pickled jalapenos, and they were absolutely delicious. Oh, it had sriracha chicken. So it was sriracha chicken. It was like chicken breast in sriracha, buffalo mozzarella, and fresh jalapenos. Oh, and cilantro, and it was absolutely delicious. So now I want to plant cilantro in a pot in my garden, because herbs like that, kind of take over sometimes. So I want to do cilantro in my garden, and I've already added the jalapenos to my list of things that I'm going to be growing. So yeah, so this is super duper a whole lot of fun. Okay, so we've only got just a couple more eggs. And then I'm going to show you how to make the brine for this. I will try to hurry, because I know everybody else has got stuff to do tonight too, or you're winding down. And it's okay if they have the coloring, from your Easter stuff. So don't worry about that. Should just make them prettier in here. And remember, these eggs are not going to be refrigerated. That terrifies me, and again, fascinates me at the same time. So, Just feels like eggs should be refrigerated, but for the fermenting process, you don't refrigerate them. Pickling, yes, I'm gonna put them in the refrigerator. Fermenting, no. Okay, 2 more eggs. Quickly, do y'all have any questions while I am getting the last 2 eggs ready? And again, if you've never, the fermenting. Oh, you've never heard of fermenting. So fermentation, Barbara, is what a couple of people just mentioned, wine or beer. So how you make wine or making wine or beer, that is a fermentation process. Sauerkraut is made by fermentation. It is not made, it's made in huge barrels. And it's made in a fermentation process instead of pickling. So it's not, there's no acid in there. It's just bacteria. Usually salt. You don't have to use salt, but the salt makes it go faster. Look at this one. Didn't that one turn out pretty? I just love the little pattern that's on that one. Okay. Come on, Kelly. We gotta peel some eggs. Okay. And this is the last one. My little colorful pile of Easter egg shells. And remember, you don't have to have just had Easter to do this. You can do this any time. Okay. So there is my last egg. So I've got in my EGGSTRA fermenting kit, I have a sprig of rosemary. I've got some wild violas, and I'm going to, okay, so now I'm going to make my little brine. So the brine that we're going to make for this, you can, I found a brine chart online that tells you for how many cups, it tells you how much salt to add, and you want to do, we're using spring water, because you want to do, distilled or tap water, you want to do, unfiltered water. So we're doing, we are doing spring water. Okay, and I'm going to add to this. So this is 2 cups of spring water, and I'm going to add a teaspoon of pink Himalayan sea salt. It needs to be a good quality salt. And to that, and look at this. How do I always run us so late? That is the wrong lid there. Oh, yeah, that is the wrong lid there, Kelly. Okay, pink Himalayan sea salt, and then for some extra gut goodness, I'm going to add just a teeny tiny bit of turmeric. I'm going to add 1/4 of a teaspoon of turmeric just because I want to have some of those turmeric benefits, but I don't want it to have that super-duper earthy flavor, and I don't want to turn everything in here bright yellow. So what is Myrna saying? Myrna is saying, and I realized I didn't bring my whisk, but anyway, Myrna is saying that her son made root beer, and it fermented so much that it exploded. Oh my goodness. And Lynn said their beer exploded. Yeah. So that's why we're doing it this way with the Shu and Me, because this process hopefully is going to be less likely to explode. Okay, so I'm just whisking, I don't have a whisk. I'm whisking all of this together, and hopefully this is going to be enough brine to cover all of this, since now we have like 4 minutes. Okay. So we're going to pour this over the top. Yes. Okay, perfect. So you do have to have enough to cover up the top. So that was a perfect amount, And then I'm going to add the spring to the top. And I'm going to add the lid. And then on the Shu and Me, you release the spring, and it's going to go down. Could you all see that, how it went down? And it's going to hold that down. So that is going to hold the, that's going to hold the brine down, on the eggs, to make sure that the eggs are covered in that. And then for this one, to make sure that it stays, to make sure that you've sealed out the air properly, I don't know, it's just a funky way to do it. You're going to fill up this little well with water. And we're going to let this sit for so I'm going to let this sit in the cabinet, because you want to put it in a cool, dry place. So I'm going to let that sit in the cabinet for about 3 days. And then at the 3-day mark, I'm going to check it and just make sure that it's bubbling, because the bubbling means that it's fermenting. After this is done fermenting, the fermented eggs, you need to eat them in like 2 weeks. So don't leave those in there as long as the pickled eggs. So here are the eggs that are going to be pickling. So these are going to be pickling in the refrigerator. Here are the eggs that are going to be fermenting in our cabinet. And hopefully here in about 3 or 4 days, I will be trying them and letting you all know how they were. But is everybody fascinated now with pickling and fermenting? So let me know, because I love fun stuff like this and I don't want to bore you all, but I think it's fascinating. So I'm super excited to be trying these. Okay, so I have talked long enough. I've actually talked longer than I had intended to. So I'm going to go ahead and start winding down, but let me know what you think. If you are reading this on IfYouHaveAnEgg.com, if you have gone over to the blog, please let me know in the comments what you think. If you were watching this on YouTube, please let me know what you think. Unless you're going to say something mean, and then just don't comment. I'm just kidding. Everybody's been super nice lately. But I cannot wait to try these. I'm so excited about them. Y'all know I love eggs anyway, because you know, if you have an egg, you have hope. So I'm super excited to try these. Thank you again so much for being here on Easter Sunday evening. I really do appreciate it. I know and Carol Lou can't wait either. So I really do appreciate you all being here. I hope you all had a super blessed day, super blessed day. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please go ahead and let that next video roll on over. There's like 200 and I don't even know how many of them now to watch. You can catch up on all the latest, or you can go back and watch some that are super old and just watch at how I fumbled through them. But and go ahead and click the subscribe button down here and click that little bell so that you can be notified when we have a new video. And if you need anything from our Spreadshirt shop, they have aprons, and you can order whatever you want. So we don't have to stock a bunch of t-shirts and aprons and things. You can order whatever you want, whenever you want it. So you all have, again, an amazing and blessed night. Thank you all again so much for being here tonight. I will see you next week with some more news, and we will have tried these by then. So stay tuned on Instagram and on our Facebook group, and I'll let you know how they are. But y'all have a great week. I appreciate you being here, and I will see you next time. Good night.